Ford launched their F-Series truck in 1948, which marks 70 years this year. And for 51 of them, it's been the best-selling pickup truck here in Canada. Our spotlight today is on this 2018 Ford F-150 XLT SuperCrew. We're going to be showing you everything about this truck, going over everything that makes this the most popular vehicle sold here in North America, and everything else you need to know if you're in the market for the Ford F-Series truck. Now this will probably be the only time I'm ever going to be actually using a cheat sheet here to go over the features and options on a car, but I want to make sure that we get everything because there's quite a lot going on with this. So first of all, unlike the one that we featured last year, it does have the Equipment Group 302A, which comes with the XLT series, but it really adds the most important things like the cargo system in the back, power sliding rear window, which is a nice little feature, the rear defroster, reverse sensing system, so it's got backup sensors on the back, the remote start, which is also great in the cold, Sync 3, Sync Connect, and some extra outlets on the inside. You also have LED box lighting, which we'll show you when we get around the back. Now this vehicle also has in total about $12,000 worth of options, including the $1,400 2.7 liter EcoBoost engine. There's actually about 6 engines available on the F-150. This is sort of the second from the bottom. There's the 3.5 liter V6. You also have the V8s. You have high output versions of them, but this is the smallest one. And so far we found it to be very fuel efficient. For $1,750, you also get the twin panel moonroof. So it is a panoramic sunroof up top. Voice activated navigation, $800. It's kind of expensive for that. The FX4 off-road package, $750. You do have skid plates on the bottom to protect the fuel tank, as well as just a slightly different suspension setup. You have the pickup bed extender because this is, it's sort of the smallest bed that you can get with the SuperCrew here, but you get that, and the XLT Sport package, which basically adds 18-inch alloy rims. So there's quite a lot going on. It is a very expensive vehicle, but I mean, this is one of the most popular trims that you can get for the F-150. They sell tons of the XLTs, and again, same issue that we had when we featured the 2017. My biggest disappointment are the headlights. The halogen headlights here, there's no polite way to put it. These are absolute garbage. Worst performing headlights we've ever used in a vehicle. They're just trash at night. The high beams do nothing to help you out. So I know we mentioned it. I know some people complained, but they do use the LED lights on the higher trims. You do have to go up to the Lariat trim to then have the privilege of paying an extra option to get the LED lights on it. So if you're going to be using this at night, be aware of that if you get this trim. The headlights are trash. Moving around to the rest of the car. I really do like the look of it. You know, it's a truck. So, I mean, you can't really go wrong with it. But Ford does things a little bit differently. There's a keypad on the driver's door to be able to get into the vehicle. You do have side light repeaters for your signals. And really the side of the truck, there's not a whole lot going on. Really, you're going to be more interested in what's going on at the back here, because the whole point of a truck is to actually use the bed of it. At least that's the purpose of it. Some people are going to be using this more maybe as an SUV, but they've done little upgrades to this, especially with the packages that we have here, to make it just a little bit nicer. So you do have a backup camera that's built into the lift gate here. You do have 4 parking sensors on the back, which certainly comes in handy when you're backing up a behemoth vehicle such as this. There's an LED light built in to the top here, so when you do unlock the truck, it'll help. You know, it's kind of like a puddle light. And then overall, I mean, there's nothing fancy with the bed. You do have a bed liner, and then there are LED lights built in here. So again, if you're using this vehicle at night, you know, you're offloading items, you know, normally you have the truck lights up there where your reverse lights usually would be, but they've added these extra ones here so that you have just a tiny little bit more light, and they also point the opposite direction. That's the thing with the lights on the back of the cab. They're pointing towards you usually. These ones are pointing away, so it gives you just a little bit of extra light. They're LEDs, so they're brighter, and they work really well. You just push the button. Will not be on when you're driving though. So if you're, you know, maybe you're helping somebody move, you pull it at night, turn those lights on, you're loading up. After the car hits about 10-15 kilometers an hour, they'll turn off and they won't come back on until you put the car into park. So it's more of a safety thing that they have that. But overall, bed size is pretty good, and there's not much to really surprise you back here. Like I said, the facelift really has just added F-150 along the back here. Before, it was just a badge on the top, and now they've put it kind of to make what the other trucks are doing. Ram has huge, like, Ram, just along the side there. So you got the F-150 there. It's a little bit more subtle. And overall, think it looks pretty good. So the interior is pretty consistent with what we saw. They really haven't changed much for the 2018 model year. So if you go back to watch our 2017 model, it really is very similar. The main difference with this specific trim is the gear lever here and the fixed center console. The other one before it was a full bench that you could fit 3 people. This is a 40-40-20 split. So the center console is fixed. You have a regular, it's actually a behemoth. This thing is huge. Your shifter here to be able to shift into the gears. And it has your drive mode at the bottom. And the only thing that I've noticed is you really do have to set that every time. We have kept it in eco mode every time we start the truck, but you do have to go into the drive mode and change it every time you start it up. You do have the larger Sync 3 screen here. It has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And I noticed we've used it quite a bit using both the built-in navigation as well as the voice navigation for $800, but we've also used Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. And what we noticed is if you're using the built-in navigation and then you plug your iPhone in, for example, it basically cancels whatever you were doing with your built-in navigation and everything gets replaced with Apple CarPlay. So I don't know why. I mean, I guess if you're plugging in your phone, you want to be able to use it. It makes sense. But in our specific case that we were using it for, I was just using the phone to charge. So a bit of an annoyance there. But overall, I mean, the interior is really straightforward. That's very nice. You have just regular climate at the bottom. It's not automatic. You have to set it yourself. Lots of storage here. You've got a storage compartment in the center just underneath the console. Your center here opens up for huge amounts of storage. You could probably fit maybe a 13-inch laptop in there. You might be able to get a 15 if you're lucky, but the 13-inch laptop could fit tablets, things like that, anything you want to hide from people to be able to see. And really just good space overall, even in the back if you've got a family, which truthfully, that's probably what most people are buying this for. This specific trim will be people who are maybe looking to use it as a family hauler. There's a lot of legroom back there. Seats fold up completely. A little bit of storage underneath the seats as well. So if you have little valuables, things like that you want to hide, you can put them there. The panoramic sunroof is also a huge plus on this car. Wasn't really expecting it when we picked it up, but it really does in a lot of light and works quite well. You can shut the shades here, and like most panoramic roofs, you can shut just half of it if the passengers in the back want a little bit of shade, or keep it open. And then we mentioned too, it does have the power opening rear door, so it's not automatic. You do have to hold it, but it saves you having to get back there if, I don't know, you're loading something that's a little bit longer. You want to have instead of it hanging out the back, you have it hanging in the front, or you just want to have a little bit of extra air coming in. It is a power version instead of a manual one. Aside from that, the interior has lots of power. You have regular house outlets, plus your usual car outlets, 2 USB ports in the front here, and again, lots of storage. You're never going to run out of storage in a vehicle like this. First things first though, this car has been sitting all night, so let's take our remote starter and warm this bad boy up. When we talk about truck performance, we're not really talking about 0 to 60 or overall comfort, things like that. We're talking about payload and towing capacities. Now, we found that with F-150s, there's so much configuration. Really, it comes down to the specific truck you're buying. You're really going to have to look at everything: the rear axle, the 4x4 capabilities, which packages, the wheelbase, the engine, everything goes into consideration. So this specific truck has a towing capacity of about 5,800 pounds, which is quite a bit, with the smaller 2.7 liter V6 EcoBoost engine. Now you get 325 horsepower with that, 400 foot-pounds of torque, so it's not too bad, but it is the smallest engine offered in this truck. So most people, I think, that are going to be going for this option aren't looking at this truck because they want to be towing huge things with it. You can still tow quite a bit with it. You can still use it as quite a bit of a truck, but I think the people that are going to be going to the 2.7 liter EcoBoost engine are going to be looking as more of a daily driver. They want that truck experience. They also want to save at the pump too, because it's actually been quite fuel efficient. We've driven it about 800 kilometers is what this says, which is quite a bit for what we usually do on test drive, and it's averaged 12.7 liters per 100 kilometers. And it's a little bit higher than the blended average they give in the spec sheet when you go to Ford.ca, but overall I think it's pretty efficient given the size of the vehicle and really, you know, how much we've been driving it. It has been mostly highway though, so really that number should be lower, but especially compared to something like the Cadillac Escalade, even the Dodge Challenger, those were two very thirsty vehicles, and this one is quite big, and it did a great job so far. 12.7 liters per 100 kilometers is quite good when it comes to fuel economy. Now, in terms of everything else with the ride and handling, we do really like the way that the truck handles. We really like what Ford does with the F-150. It is comfortable when it comes to trucks. You know, the suspension in the back can get a little bumpy, but that's what you get with leaf springs instead of, you know, what you would expect on an SUV over a truck. But overall, it is a very good ride. It's not for me. I'm happy to admit that, and I know there'll probably be truck guys out there who will say I shouldn't be reviewing this because I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm not really much of a truck guy, so I don't find the ride to be very enjoyable. But when it comes to trucks, if you compare it with the 1500 Ram or the Chevy Silverado, we do feel that the F-150 certainly has a much smoother ride, less bumps, overall enjoyable experience throughout. Now, I know I just said that power is not as important, but I still like to be able to try it out. So we're in sport mode here. It's two-wheel drive. We're not going to put it into four-wheel drive, but we are in sport mode, and we're going to go from a dig. Oh, a little bit of squealing there at 3,000 RPM. That was interesting. Yeah, you know, we're up to speed. We're at significantly over the speed limit. And, you know, it was pretty quick. You can definitely get some power out of it if you want to. You know, I think I could feel the gas gauge going down as we were doing that, but you know, overall the vehicle is powerful enough for what you want to do with this engine. Again, there's so many options with the F-150 that you really can customize it to suit your needs specifically. And then again, if you really need even more power, if the gas engines available on here are not to your liking or you need more out of your truck, then Ford offers the F-250 with both a gas and diesel engine, as well as much more heavy-duty equipment like that heavy-duty alternator and better suspension, and overall just a different chassis to be able to support much more payload. But overall, I think people who are driving an F-150 who need it as a truck are going to be quite happy. People who are looking at this because they want a truck and they've never driven one before, I really suggest getting out there and trying it first, because it might not be what you're thinking it's going to be like. But overall, if you're in the market for an F-150, the refresh was quite minimal this year, but that's the great thing about trucks. They don't change too often from year to year. It's really when they do major generational changes. And I think for the most part, you're going to be very happy with the ride, handling, performance, payload, and towing capacity with the F-150. There's probably 150 reasons why the F-150 has been the #1 truck sold in Canada for 51 years, but we'll limit it to just 5. We like the amount of options and customization the F-Series has for buyers, including the multiple engine options ranging from the 3.3-liter Cyclone V6 up to the 3.5-liter EcoBoost and the 3-liter Power Stroke Turbo Diesel. Ride comfort for a truck is also good with the SuperCrew 4x4, and you can't go wrong with that rear legroom when you need to keep belongings warm or dry when the bed isn't an option. Fuel economy was also pretty good on the 2.7-liter EcoBoost, giving us an average of 12.7 liters per 100 kilometers during our week with the F-150. Until we get our hands on other light-duty pickup trucks, we won't have a current comparison to base our dislikes on, but for now we still dislike the halogen headlight performance, despite what halogen apologists might say. We also didn't like how connecting our iPhone disabled the built-in Ford navigation system. Aside from that, the rest of the Sync 3 experience was pretty good. Finally, we would like to see a setting to keep the drive mode from the previous use remain on startup. We often forgot to put the car back into eco mode after parking, and since we weren't towing or hauling, we would have liked to save a little bit more on gas with the optimized engine profile for fuel efficiency. Overall, you really can't go wrong with the 2018 Ford F-150 XLT if you're in the market for a truck. With plenty of options, building your F-Series just the way you want means you could potentially hold on to it for longer, getting the features and options you need for the job at hand. Thanks for watching this episode of Test Drive Spotlight on the 2018 Ford F-150 XLT SuperCrew. What do you think of this truck? Do you think it will remain the king for the 2019 model with fierce competition from Ram? Let us know in the comments below. And check out the description for links to my Instagram and Twitter pages. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. Until next time, take care.